Welcome to Civilization Stories, where we explore alternatives to history through the lens of the most addictive video game. I've been busy. I have to admit that my lifestyle can become a bit grueling as I move around from place to place, country to country. If anybody has paid attention to my Beyond Civilization Stories segments, they'll know that late last year, my girlfriend and I traveled to Iran before slipping through Oman, over to Sri Lanka, and then into India, and then eventually into Nepal. And we've recently explored Thailand and am now in Laos. Yeah, finding a place to live all the time, worrying about things like visas, what's happening to our friends in a country that's being shelled, it takes its toll. And I have not been able to devote time and energy to frivolities like playing Civ or commenting on them. But, you know, every once in a while, I do get a bit broken, pay an extra night's stay at any hotel just to sit back, relax, and let my brain melt a little bit. And nothing helps my brain rot better than Civ. So although I haven't been playing as much as I normally would, I have picked it up a little bit. I tried playing a few games of Civ V, got to the modern era a couple times before I got frustrating and I just quit. I really do want to make another video about Civ V, but I still can't find the peace of mind to actually finish a game, because by the time I get to the modern age, it just gets way too frustrating. And then I played a game of Civ VI as Jadwiga on quick speed and won a religious victory in 4 hours just because I needed like a fix. And Civ VI is good for that. So, but I did pick up Civ VII recently just to see how things were going. I think I had played a little bit after the most recent patch, and there's been this news of the big update coming probably this summer, which got me a bit excited. But yeah, as I was playing, you know, I've said before, and it's still true, that when you're in the game, there are moments of it that are very fun. But overall, while I was playing this game most recently, I played as Himiko. I played as Himiko of the Tonga, then as Iceland, and then as the Qing, all civilizations I had never played as before. Actually, that's not quite true. I had played as Tonga very briefly, just to get footage. But yeah, they were at least fun because they have that explorer ability that lets them into deep ocean and stuff, which was really cool, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I was playing and I kind of just got, the more the game went on, I just kind of found myself falling into this feeling of general apathy towards Civ 7. And it's so sad because it is a game that, although I had apprehensions about, even before it came out, I was desperate to fall in love with this game and to have my instincts proven wrong, and that it would break the cycle of the Civ meme. And but a year's gone by and I don't feel closer to loving it. I have said in the past that I believe that in whatever amount of time, another year, 2 years, 3 years, as long as there's support for this game, that eventually it will become the most beloved in the franchise. And that will last at least for a while. But I don't know if it's ever going to be mine. And it's because the more I play, the more, or just the less I find myself being drawn to what I imagine it could be. And I know that this great update that's supposed to come and give us the opportunity to play as One-CIV all the way through, and they've already talked about it being more sandboxy, and I pray to God that that's true, because things like legacy paths, attribute points, I don't know who signed off on this, but they were terrible ideas at the beginning. Ones that, as you play, as you get to know the game, they make you better. And so it gives you the opportunity to win and you feel like, wow, I'm stronger. But the game is still a bit too easy. I hope it also becomes more challenging. But as you become stronger and you start to lean on and become dependent on these attribute points to kind of get you through the game, it is a bit of an annoying crutch that takes away from that sandboxiness, and it just kind of it almost adds to the legacy paths idea of homework and setting the goals. And the more you move up and choose those attribute points, and playing on rails, all of these buzzwords that have been used to describe the current state of the game. I mean, I don't know if you can actually just get rid of them, what's going to happen to them, how they'll be able to morph it into some kind of more cohesive playthrough where you don't feel so much like the end game is already being played out in the first 35 turns because of the paths. There's too many paths, whether it's paths down the tech tree, paths down the civic tree, paths down the attribute tree, paths down the legacy tree. There's just too many paths, and they're all achievable. There's no trade-offs anywhere. There's no closing off of one path to open another door. And it almost sounds like a good thing that everything's open to you, but you're not making real meaningful choices along the way. And anyway, playing this game as Himiko was a good example of that, because she's got this incredible unique ability where she doesn't need to spend influence to support endeavors. So whenever anybody comes to you with an endeavor, you can just say like, yeah, no problem. Let's do it. And, give us 12 extra science in our capitals for nothing. They're the ones spending the influence points, not you. So you get to hold on to those and spend your influence points to either start your own Friends of Way, I think is her unique endeavor, which gives you and whoever you decide to collaborate with 25% extra science, which is ridiculous. Like, that is like overpoweringly strong. And all of those other influence points you can spend on becoming suzerain of the independent powers that give you ridiculous bonuses. I mean, the bonuses got nerfed compared to what they were previously, but they're still pretty darn good. And you play your cards right, especially if you play as Tonga at the beginning, and you can meet a lot of independent powers and get a lot of bonuses. And you're never sacrificing anything by agreeing to these endeavors. But what made it all the more frustrating was getting to the modern age when I had built these incredible relationships with, I think, 3 of my rivals. We had all kind of collaborated together in the ancient and the age of antiquity and the exploration age to kind of conquer. Ben Franklin was one guy that we picked on and got rid of. We took down Amina, who was a bit of an aggressor, and we had these great relationships. And then the modern age comes, and of course, there's the chance to choose ideologies. You choose as best as you can. This sounds like a good idea based on the goals you want to achieve. And those relationships fell apart. And it's one thing if like somebody undergoes some kind of revolution and there's a tidal shift in what those other ideologies could do to your gameplay. But these relationships had been so tight since ancient times. We're talking about 6,000 years of Civ history, and they got flushed down the toilet. And the next thing I know, I was at war and didn't want to be with people that I saw as brothers. And given the current state of the world, maybe it's just, what is it, art repeating life? But it was sad to see, because Himiko, for her to be effective, she's dependent on the relationships that she builds. That's what makes her an effective leader. That's why you'd want to play her. And then you get to the modern age and somebody, you decide to be, let's say, democratic, and they choose to be fascist, and it's over. It's like, forget your relationship. It's down the tubes. Doesn't matter who chose first or whatever. It's all going to dissolve, and you're going to be at war, even if you don't want to. Anyway, I see that as kind of a problem, because there doesn't seem to be, like I said, that tidal shift in when these ideologies come out and get introduced into the gameplay. I still like the idea of having ideologies and people you disagree with, but they're too impactful in the state of things by kind of ruining all the goodwill that you might have built up during a game. So that was a bit frustrating. And Himiko, yeah, I mean, she's a totally overpowered leader. I think most people, most commentators that do play a lot of Civ 7 enjoy the game and like talking about it. I kind of think there's sort of some kind of consensus that she's one of the best leaders that you can play as. Anyway, yeah, the whole modern age, in fact, is like a bit of a problem, just aside from the ideologies. There's also, what annoys me so much is the explorer's lens and the dependency on being effective at it as like having good eyesight, because mine's terrible. You know, I wear contact lenses, I wear glasses and all this kind of stuff. And my game being hampered has nothing to do with strategy and all just about my ability to read this kind of clunky lens. So I keep getting beaten to certain artifact sites and all this kind of stuff just because I'm like, well, I don't see anything there anymore. And then it comes this race to hegemony to get the tech that unlocks. It is the most clunky thing. And even just, you know, I'd played such a good science game up until that point because Himiko really feeds off playing a science-focused game. And then I've complained about this in the past, and it's still the case where trying to go to space just takes forever. And it's not because Himiko's bad at science. Like getting through the tech tree was not exactly a challenge in the modern age based on all the science that had built up, but because of production. And yeah, it's just there's so many things you got to build besides the transatlantic flight, the breaking the sound barrier, then the satellite, then all these parts. It's way too much production, especially when what ends up happening is, you know, I'd played a decent culture game as well. I got my first explorer out on turn 3 because I don't know what the first civic there is that you have to get to be able to build explorers. But then I just purchased one with my excess gold and sent them out. I think I bought 2 actually. And yeah, you just kind of send them out and it's almost too easy. The whole artifacts thing is like a huge problem. It was so good in Civ 6 because it added to your whole culture game and this idea of tourism. But here it's just a race to get, what is it, 15 you need to put in museums to finish the legacy path and then build the World's Fair, which I'm sorry, production wise, I think it took me like 11 turns and a town I had captured from Amina. It was too easy. And even when I was playing this game, I could have won by the Railroad Tycoon, the Great Banker, but I decided not to because I find that's the cheapest way to win. Like it's kind of like the I don't know, maybe how people find winning at diplomacy in Civ 6 or maybe with the religious game, they're kind of like, well, it's not a real win if you do it this way. I kind of feel that way about the Railroad Tycoon. It's not a real win. Speaking of winning as well, like winning is the most anticlimactic thing in Civ 7, and I think it has to do with the Hall of Fame and it not being there. Now, I'm pretty sure I've said that before in one or not, if not more than one of my videos. And I know that Civ 6 did not come with a built-in Hall of Fame. But the real big problem here is with no Hall of Fame, there's nothing to compare your previous victories to. There's no score. There's no like, oh, you played this game as well as Ethelred the Unready, or you played this game as well as Augustus Caesar. It sounds like such a benign, silly, small thing, but for its replayability, it's incredibly impactful because even if you're not comparing it to like an actual scoreboard that's like kept on your computer on some kind of like file, when you're playing and you have that list of, you know, there's Abraham Lincoln, Augustus Caesar, Hammurabi, well, all these leaders, starting with like Dan Quayle or Ethelred the Unready or whatever, you're still going to be trying to play that game to get over the next leader, to reach that score higher. But there's no real score mechanic anymore. It's gone. It's like you can't even win a score victory, I don't think. So the score mechanic's gone. Your empire size doesn't matter. And then you're not comparing it to anything. So what happens? The only measurement to compare is turns. And if anybody's been watching my channel and knows what I think about this whole idea of trying to win in as few turns as possible, or players being jazzed about a way to win being less micro, I mean, maybe that's the trend of what gamers want, but it's sad to see gamers like myself, maybe from a previous generation, who want I don't want to say more satisfying win, because how do you even gauge that kind of thing? But more this traditional sense of what it took to win, where you're not solving this puzzle where all the pieces go into one particular way, and then you kind of just push the first domino and you're like, I'm done. It's more like you kind of can look back and you can kind of look what I did with my empire and look why it was the greatest. And fair shout if you're thinking to yourself like, well, winning in 12 turns in the modern age proves that my empire was the greatest. Fine. Okay, great. Maybe it is the same argument. I don't know. It's a very difficult concept to kind of wrap your head around and articulate. But this lack of a Hall of Fame and lack of a measuring stick other than turns to determine how well a game was played when you look back, and obviously there's no replay video, like why they got rid of the replay video. I mean, it's never even been in Civ 6, but why they got rid of the replay video, I'll never know, because like that's fun if for no other reason but to watch the map painting. But to me, that's a huge sore point, and I feel like adding a Hall of Fame and this measuring stick, it's so easy to implement that I still feel like maybe they're focused on the wrong things. I know they kind of have to like retcon a few mechanics that they made that went really horribly wrong, and obviously they got to do that to get Civ 7, give it the legs it needs to keep moving forward and drawing players back, and so that they can keep giving it the support that especially players that love it will want. But that's like another thing too, is they're now in this half-assed phase of like trying to draw back the customers. I don't even say players anymore. They're trying to draw back the customers they lost. And if anything, this is going to alienate the customers who bought it and who probably love it. And this is me reiterating how Civ 7 trying to be all things to everybody is going to end up satisfying no one. Full disclosure, I'm not in the Steam, it's not a Steam workshop, it's a Civ workshop. I haven't played with any of the new mechanics at all. If anybody's out there and has been and can give this lowly YouTuber a key, that'd be great. I'd love to give it a shot, see what's going on. Tried to keep my finger on the pulse, watching a few YouTubers who have played around with the new mechanics, but I'm still skeptical. And what's worse is, like I said, the more I delve into the game and look at it, the more kind of just tired I feel. If I can put it into audio terms that some people might resonate with, it's kind of like if you overcompress audio, where at the beginning it kind of like sounds good and it's louder and it's like more in your face and you're like, wow, that sounds great, but you can't listen to it forever because it's just so tiring on your ears. And eventually you just get what's called listening fatigue. And I kind of feel like I'm at that stage now with Civ 7 where there's something about the muted colors or lack of colors, if that makes any sense, where it's kind of made everything gray and you kind of feel gray and joyless. Civ used to be almost like a romp through the circus, where you caught every color of the rainbow from every age, and it was exciting for that. You really felt this like swing and momentum. Now all the music is like incredibly dramatic, and that's like dramatic music's fine, but like changing it up a bit, give us some joyous tunes. I don't feel like, how do I put this? The overall experience is incredibly one-dimensional, where your feelings don't oscillate between extreme frustration and anger and extreme joy. I don't know, maybe beating out a rival to a particular wonder and getting that leg up like you used to feel. Your pulse barely ever goes above 65. And not to suggest what everybody's standing heart rate would be, but there are no ups and downs. It's kind of just like a flat line where you're kind of just like, oh, I'll go and I'll do this. And no matter what's all the more strange is, like, I don't think I've played below deity since my first game when the game first came out. And I never feel like I'm going to lose, really. I'm just going along, kind of going through the motions, and Himiko was probably the worst at this because every time a diplomatic screen came up, it was just click the box on the left. Just every time, get the bonus, get the bonus, get the bonus. Didn't even have to think. It was like automatic. And by the time I got to the modern age, that's all I was doing was just like another growth event, put it here, another diplomatic screen, put it here. There was, like I said, a war, but I didn't want to be in it. And I got out of it as fast as I could just because I wanted to get to the end of the game and win, which still frustratingly took like forever somehow. But that's, probably my fault. And like, I haven't really read the directions to find the fastest route. I'm kind of just making up as I go along. And sometimes I'm like, oh, there's, +2 food on warehouse buildings. Oh, okay, that sounds fine. Whatever. I have not explored optimization at all. I don't think that's ever worth it. But again, the whole game is predicated on building yields, not making decisions. It's just get bigger yields. It's like the one thing you need to do. So it's very one-dimensional in that regard. And like I said, it's if you can't hear it in my voice, well, let me tell you straight, it's getting me a bit down, and just the best word I think is apathetic. Anyway, thanks for sitting through this with me, and thanks for watching. As always, I promise there will be more Civ 6 content, more Beyond Civilization content. Like I said, I've just been a little bit busy and preoccupied with making sure some friends around the world are safe and not being overly impacted by what's going on in certain other parts of the world. But thanks for watching, and don't forget to keep playing and making your own civilization story, your own amazing path through history, and I'll see you next time.